There are three other things I would share on top of that. Turning up on time, knowing the script, and having a few ideas. No business can survive without an entrepreneur or an owner who turns up on time, i.e., they are prepared, knowing the script, they know their customer, and they have a few ideas to contribute.
From humble roots to lasting riches. This is Roots to Riches.
Welcome everyone to the show, Roots to Riches, where we explore entrepreneurial journeys. Today we have a fantastic lady who's doing awesome stuff. On the show today we have Lori Powell. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Raymond. Nice to see you.
Oh, welcome to the show, Lori. So, Lori, I know I've already hyped you up. People are already keen to know, what does a fantastic lady do?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Powell. I'm the co-founder of LVL London. It's a boutique leadership consultancy. I run it with two business partners who happen to be my sisters. And our goal is to help businesses develop leaders, people who, the next generation of leaders, people who can run the business, not just by managing operational tasks, but by working with people, the most important business asset.
So is it like working with CEOs, like top executives only, or how does that work, Lori? That sounds very fantastic.
It could be anybody from the entry-level role, the most junior person in the organization, because they could be the future leader of that business, or the CEO themselves, who is looking to shape their leadership style, become a bit more strategic when it comes to people, or just deal with general softer skills, which are harder to master.
Okay. So, I mean, what kind of clients are you working with? Is it like anyone would see on the high street? Please don't give me names in case I start chasing after you.
Well, our backgrounds are from the luxury retail sector. So
Okay.
myself and my two business partners have spent probably about 40 years combined working in the luxury retail industry. And we decided to offer our service out to those same businesses. So because we built our personal brand, it made sense to stay there and to continue to work our network and find clients who would be able to work with us. But equally, everybody who runs a business who employs more than one person is a potential client of ours. We would work with any particular any business, but we love retail because we love luxury.
Oh, we all love luxury. I don't think we can all afford it, but we do love luxury. So, Lori, tell me, how does Lori become Lori? Where are you coming from, Lori?
Oh, I grew up in Derby, a city I know you know very well, Raymond, city of
Yeah.
dreams. And it's a wonderful place to start, because when I talk to people about the Midlands, often they know Manchester, they know Birmingham, they've been there, but they've heard of Derby, but not necessarily understand how special it is as a small place where, when I grew up, you knew your neighbors, you could knock on the door and ask to borrow milk or sugar. Everybody was super friendly, and
Wow.
you went to school there, you worked there, you go to the pub for a drink after work there, you get married there, you have children there, and you stay there. And it just wasn't the case for me. Even though I grew up in a beautiful family environment, we really valued stability and good careers, strong careers, getting a good job. So after university, I decided that Derby wasn't necessarily the place where I wanted to build my career path. And I ended up moving to London. But I kept those Derbyshire roots of being very family focused, very friendly, being ready to give, being a good neighbor. And those are some of the values that have still kept me going to this day.
Okay, interesting. And so you moved away from Derby to go to London, and you come back to Derby.
I moved back during the pandemic.
Ah,
I'd started the
and you didn't go
business,
back.
and I haven't gone back yet. Watch this space.
We'll keep you in Derby for as long as we can, Laurie. You're a credit to the city. So, Laurie, um, any of your family in business, how did you just wake up and do business then?
It's interesting because I think when I think back over my career, I think, was I destined to be an entrepreneur, or even now, I don't consider myself necessarily an entrepreneur. I would say I'm self-employed. I have a business. The business is centered around me and two other people, my associates. Whereas entrepreneurs, they're the ones building systems that can be scaled, that have innovative ideas. So I'm still battling with the idea of being an entrepreneur. But I was always a problem solver. I always
Okay.
gave something worth keeping to others, whether it was a service, a smile, some advice, wherever I was, whether it was studying, part-time job, graduate job after finishing university, I would always have this work ethic that was pretty strong, and I always wanted to be a problem solver. Think about the problems that people have and how can we solve those problems. And I think that is one of the biggest bases for starting a business, having a really core problem and then looking for a way to solve those problems. So I wouldn't say that entrepreneurship was something ingrained in me. Yes, I did the things other kids do. You sell sweets in the kids' playground, or I used to do business cards for my neighbors to create them on a computer and print them out for them.
Okay.
So those were the first kind of springings of entrepreneurship, but who knows? Here we are.
All right. So, I mean, growing up, how did you define success growing up? What did success look like for you?
Success in a family like mine, a Jamaican household, two parents working very hard to make sure they could put food on the table, provide for the family. I'm one of five, two brothers, two sisters. So there was a lot of mouths to feed. So success actually looks like being able to have steady, consistent income and being secure, to be able to provide, to be respected, to do something that felt really rewarding. And I would say it wasn't until I left home to move to university, I realized that success wasn't always necessarily about being flashy. It was actually about being consistent and steady and taking the principles that I'd learned from home outside of the home to be able to build a career or shape a path for myself. Having money, yeah, being able to provide, which I think I already mentioned. I think those are some of the core elements of what success had really looked like. It's not until I went through this journey of becoming a business owner that you realize success is very, very different many years on.
So, do you have anyone that you could maybe cite as maybe an inspiration growing up? Say, you know what, this person was my sort of my great inspiration growing up.
I think my dad was a solid influence because he had lots of ideas, lots of different ways of being able to generate income. And I think that the goal of having multiple streams of income very much came from him. He had a business a business ironing clothes, a laundry business, a shop, different things that he would do in order to be able to make money and drive income. And I realized actually it's quite important having multiple streams of income. And even now, as we focus on the business, I would say that anybody who wants to go into business, making sure that you have lots of options, lots of ways in which you can segment your skill set so that if one stream is a little bit dry, you've got other things that you're relying on. And I would say that came from my dad.
Okay. So, Lori, in your journey, you said you've left university, you've gone onto the corporate ladder, you're working for your big brands. What was the turning point? When did you just suddenly switch off and say, you know what, now I'm going to start running my own business? What was the trigger? Because that's a massive decision.
I always was a good team player. So happy to be second in command, happy to support a vision, a mission, as long as there was value, as long as my values also aligned with it as well. So I was always good at being part of a team or working for somebody else. It's not until my sisters, it was 2019, I think, we were in Italy on holiday, deciding what we wanted to do for the future. And each of us had complementary skill sets, similar career paths within the industry. But we realized that businesses were investing more in marketing dollars, advertising, and influencer campaigns to get their products sold than they were the people. And it was all we were passionate about. We were thinking, how do we build high-performing teams in order to be able to get the results? And the results were sales. So we thought, okay, we've got this idea. How do we make it happen? And we decided to put together a business model that would allow us to offer coaching, consulting, and leadership development programs to the same businesses that were not always focusing on just people. And that's how it started.
And in terms of support, I'm trying to think. You've said you come from a stable family where I want to assume your parents were not big risk takers from that end. Then suddenly you're coming up, and the three of you in the home are just simply saying, "Mom, Dad, we jumping off to the deep end." How did that go down?
I mean, by then we all had established careers anyway in our own rights. We were pretty independent from parental advice. Although I do think if you pick an industry where the cost of entering that industry is relatively low, it's going to be easier for you in terms of risk. So we were offering a service. So the barriers to entry were not very high. The cost of entry was not particularly high. All you needed was an internet connection and a client, and you can offer that service. So in terms of support, it was more about network. Who in your network can give you good advice as to whether it's a good idea, a God idea, or it can be like, an idea where you still need to grow and bake it out a little bit more. So I'd say finding the right network of people who can give you honest feedback is super important.
Okay. So any fears? Because I'll be trying to think. This was a big step. What kind of fears would you have most probably found in the early days? Because surely you can't have been 100% confident.
It was a huge risk because you go from working a 9 till 5, although our work ethic never allowed us to actually do 9 till 5. It was 9 till 5 and then some. But you go from working a 9 till 5 in a very comfortable office setting, office environment where the structure is there and your day is kind of dictated by the people around you. You become a kind of problem solver, but a tick boxer as well. So making that jump to be going from being a list maker and note taker to actually being the one telling people what should be on that list was a huge jump. So I would say one of the biggest challenges was how you manage your own, nervous system around being able to work with the same people that you have worked with in the industry for the last 10, 15 years to now tell them you're no longer functioning under the umbrella of the brand. I'd worked for Tiffany and Company, Harrods, big names that everybody knows, UK and beyond. My sisters had worked for Fendi, Valentino, Givenchy, big brands in the luxury industry that knew that us functioning under that umbrella makes a lot of sense. Us on our own in an industry where people don't even really look like you necessarily, an industry that's about absolute perfection, no second chances, no getting it wrong. We say, try and try again. There's no try again in luxury. So
Wow.
in your own nervous system, building up credibility was something we really had to master. And it's a mindset shift. It's telling yourself you're doing the same thing that were doing when you were in industry, working in an office, but you're just doing it for yourself. And in fact, taking that lid off has allowed us to think bigger, broader, wider, and more innovatively about how we serve clients.
So in all of this, did you ever get to a point where you thought, what, I am going back to my old job?
I've thought that more than once, Raymond. Do you know why? Because when you do a good job for the client, quite often they want to give you a full-time role. Why do they want to pay a consultant what they could do to pay somebody in-house? So it's happened a few times where we've been working with a client and they have asked us to come in-house as either head of learning and development, head of training, or some sort of role like that. So the temptation, especially when they're talking about, really lucrative salaries, when you're working for yourself, you are chasing that paycheck. You are making sure that your income is matching the level, the life that you're aspiring to. But yet that the lure of consistency and knowing that you get the same paycheck every month if you were to go back into industry, it was definitely there. So there are times where you have thought, okay, it would be easier but it's not necessarily the right thing to do, especially if you're on an upward trajectory. You want to grow, you want to see where you can take things, you want to develop how you work with your family members, which is what I'm doing, and how you work with others, and see where it goes. So didn't take the bait.
And you never thought of quitting?
No, quitting was not an option. We do not quit. Do you know why? Because if you're passionate enough about something, even when the motivation wanes and the discipline has to kick in, you still keep going. I have never thought, do I want to quit? Have my sisters thought, do they want to quit? Maybe I've made them think they
Maybe you've been driving them crazy.
You're managing the dynamic between three powerful women who want to do the right thing, who want to deliver excellence for the client. Of course, maybe it has become, and they also may have had their other opportunities that have been offered to them as well. But no, it was never an option to quit. And I would say, if you really love what you're doing, it probably won't be a factor. That's a contributor.
I like what you said. When the motivation wanes, the discipline kicks in. That's profound, Lori. You want to maybe just expand on that, because I'm thinking that's quite deep.
Well, people are looking for ways to be motivated to do something that they thought they really loved. So for me, I never see it as a challenge when I don't feel that I want to get up to take that early morning client call because the client is in Japan and I'm in the UK and we're on a completely different time schedule. I don't feel this is where the discipline comes in, to say, this is what I've chosen to do. I may not always feel like doing it, but the results far outweigh the feeling. Results over feeling every time.
Wow, results over feeling. So is there a mistake that maybe you would have made that you say, you know what, I'm glad we made this mistake. Now we've learned, and it's sort of shaped our thinking around how we do this business?
I would say to anybody thinking about it or already in it, considering what the next step looks like for them, if you start a business, it's not just a good idea. It has to come with systems. It has to come with structure. For us, we were so excited, and the excitement was outweighing the kind of not the discipline, because there was discipline there, but the desire to create systems and structure, which means, and I'm sure maybe it's Richard Branson or some other amazing entrepreneur who said, hire people to do stuff and then get out of their way. That is not the case. I would say that's not the case. I would say you hire people to do what you need them to do, but then you stay close to it. And it was a mistake that we had made. I remember we got overzealous and somehow we managed to apply for register for VAT. And I think it was as soon as the business was triggered, maybe we were 6 months in, and we hadn't even hit the threshold yet, but somehow we had applied for VAT to register for VAT, and HMRC gave us a date to say that is the date that you're going to need to pay VAT from. We had so many clients that we had to go back to say, I'm so sorry, we don't even hit the threshold, but either we have to pay out of our pocket or you have to go and we have to add on VAT to the services that we have offered you so far. Not great, too much, not enough systems, too much reliance on other people who you hire to support you, to then and then not monitoring what they're always doing. So I would say create the right systems. If you have people involved, stay close to them. It's your biological baby, that business. It's not somebody else's father's business. So you have to stay close.
So along this journey, Lori, at what point do you stop seeing yourself as just trying and getting to a point where, so own this is me? Because you said what you do and who Lori is. How, at what point does that shift happen for you?
For me, I'm actually trying to separate my identity from the business. You get so ingrained and engrafted into it, and if you love what you do, it feels like you're not working specifically. But there are times where you have to prove to yourself that you have what it takes to be able to run this business successfully, but you also have what it takes to step back. And that's the next step of LVL London, where we are trying to create systems to be able to remove ourselves from being the brand. People want to work with us because it's us and because of the credibility that we've built, but we need to create systems and extra streams of income within the business that allow us to go on holiday for 3 weeks and not have to answer emails.
We all wanted that position, Lori, where I have to take my phone, I take my laptop on holiday, and I'm thinking, is this holiday or just working away from home? It's just hard to separate yourself when you're self-employed. So anyway, has your decision making changed through the process, your ability or the way you make decisions, has it changed from when you started? Do you feel there's things that have maybe got you thinking differently about how you view the business?
At the start, there was a lot of overthinking. And I would tell people, sometimes it's advice that I don't follow, but I would tell people, don't overthink it, just do it. Progress is better than perfection. But we're striving so much to be perfect that we don't make progress. We don't advertise, we don't put the Instagram profile together, we don't post on LinkedIn. We're overthinking our authenticity. And I think that's what we were doing at the start. Everything, particularly because of the industry that we were coming from, where perfection is seen as the norm, we were overthinking a lot. So I would say decisions were being made based on that kind of decision paralysis because of overthinking. But I would say to anybody, just go for it. Focus on clarity as a strategic objective. Focus on the outcome. Focus on the end from the beginning. What do you want at the end of this business? And then what kind of reverse engineer your process.
So today, when you hear the word riches, how much has that changed from maybe your impression of being rich when you were a child? Now that you can see all these luxury brands, how has that changed around you, Lori? I'm quite keen to see your definition of riches now.
Riches used to mean I can retire my parents and we can all go and live in our holiday homes. They don't have to work. We don't have to work. That's what real riches meant, that wealth creation in terms of monetary finances. Now, it means peace. It means a wealth of richness from inside, your spirit being rich enough to be able to produce the things that you want in life. And the output of that is peace. So I would say riches is actually about peace. What is it that we are put on this earth to do? How can you use your business to facilitate that? And how can you not compromise your peace?
So, and what part of this whole journey are you most proud about? Even if it's something that we can't see, what can you say? You know what? I'm so proud of this part of this journey for myself.
I would say the growth. Having a business and running a business, it's like having a therapist that you don't really pay for. It brings everything to the surface. Your abandonment issues, your fear of rejection from clients, the dynamics that you have between the people that you are working with, your empathy skills, how much you demonstrate consideration for others. So I would say the thing I'm most proud of is the growth that I have experienced. You cannot lead others in a business if you are not able to lead yourself. And this growth of self-mastery has been something I really enjoy. It's one of my values to grow, to learn, to continuously grow and develop anyway. So the internal growth that I've been able to experience has been just exciting. And even when nobody's clapping.
Well, I guess that's what it counts more. It's what you can appreciate by yourself to look back and say, you know what, I'm glad I've done that. Because at times it's what people clap for, it's what they see, and at times it's not the most valuable. But anyway, you've mentioned you work with your sisters. How does that work? Because I'm thinking from just being siblings, that's a starting point. And now you're trying to say you've got family and you're doing business together. Does that go down well? I'm looking at my own brother. I'm thinking, you know what? Let me love him and keep him at a distance.
It's a very steep learning curve. It's a very steep learning curve. You you talked about decisions earlier on. At the beginning, we were having conversations around who gets to make the decision. Is it by age? Is it by experience? Is it by industry? Is it by client preference? There were so many different factors that would contribute to how we make those decisions. Big personalities. I am the middle child, and sometimes a bit of a typical middle child in that way, wanting to balance out, wanting to be heard also. So and we're three women as well that want to get things right, want to do things good that are great for the client. I would say the solution has been having clarity. Clarity is an underrated strategy. The start of this year, we did a vision board together. We took ourselves out to look at what it was we wanted to achieve personally first, because our personal values fuel the business values. Get clear on what it was you want to do, what you want to do, kind of pull back in order to go faster. And when you get clear, you waste less time, you stop being pulled in every direction, you stop arguing, you stop using Christmas as a business meeting opportunity.
Oh, Christmas dinner. Hey.
Well, it's when everyone's together, everyone's focused, everyone's happy.
Well, I would hate to sit at the dinner table and all I'm thinking is, guys, stop cooking figures. We need to have turkey. All right, so Lori, let's come up to the lessons bit. What would you tell your younger self if you could sit with the younger Lori and say, Lori, before you start this business, what do you think could have been a good advice to yourself before you started?
Enjoy the journey. I'm reading a book at the moment. It's by a gentleman called Corey Muscara, and it's called Stop Missing Your Life. Stop doing all of the things that you think contribute towards a great life, but actually end up making you miss the life that you are living. It's a great book. It's not the type of book I would typically read. It's about meditation. There's a bit of spirituality in there. It's not necessarily hugely me, but somebody gave me this book and it's been quite a game changer to say that you don't need to earn your worth through overdoing. Progress is better than perfection. Enjoy the journey and just trust that you're being built.
Lori, that's deep. That's deep. So, I like this question. I like asking this question. So, Lori, what piece of advice do you often give but people rarely follow? What is it that you say to people? If only people listen to me.
That people rarely follow, but that I rarely follow.
Well, I'm hoping you follow your own advice at some point.
I would say people are often striving for making money, making that first million, whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. And I would say, again, progress is better than perfection. Give something first worth keeping. Work on your skills. Go deep before you go wide. So it's lots of nuggets here, but I'll explain why. I think because of AI and the tools that are coming out, people are investing less in self, in their credibility, in their knowledge, their ability to articulate, their ability to storytell, their ability to understand the industry that they are in. I think this is a lost and dying art, to be able to understand, maybe philosophy or the principles which govern the industry that you're working in or the business model that you've chosen. So I would say it's really important to give something worth keeping and make it unique. And the way to make it unique is to not embrace just all of the tools that are here to help you in business, yes, but don't let them remove the core of how you build credibility and build business. And there are 3 other things I would share on top of that. Turning up on time, knowing the script, and having a few ideas. No business can survive without an entrepreneur or an owner who turns up on time, i.e. they are prepared, knowing the script, they know their customer, and they have a few ideas to contribute.
Wow. Okay, no, that's sound. So, as a person, what habits do you cultivate that sort of keep you on the calm, maybe on the straight and narrow? What is it that you do, Lori, that makes you?
Um, I I start off by doing what I just said, turning up on time, knowing what I'm there to do, having a few ideas. That those are kind of the foundations of what I try to do in order with every client, with every interaction, with every relationship that is built, the people that I meet, the people who may be of help to me, and that I can also be of help to. So those are just some of the principles that have really served me well. Habits, consistency. Those I've got a 1% diary by Steve Bartlett, which says that you can improve your productivity by 37% by just increasing your impact by 1% over just a few months. So I think consistency in actions, taking the calls that I say I'm going to talk to take, doing the work that I say I'm going to do, being consistent and following through. That's also one habit that I'm really proud of.
Okay. So, right now, what's the next step? What do you feel is, sort of where you're going? What's the next big thing, Lori?
We need to scale. Three sisters who built this kind of personal brand around luxury, leadership, performance consulting, coaching. It's all fun and games, but it very much relies on us being present and delivering. So we need to scale, but still with depth. So we want to get in bigger rooms, have bigger impact, and we can only do that if we scale the business. So that's what we're hoping is going to come next.
Okay. And no luxury brand for yourselves? Are we not going to be spraying some LVL or some LVL lotion or some shirt? I'm just trying. I'm toying around.
I wouldn't I mean, watch this space. Who knows?
Who knows? I would love to have you to come back sometime and we're discussing. And I'll own. I'll say, you know what? Remember who told you first. So, Laurie, your faith. Talk to me about how much of a role does your faith play in your business?
Faith is a huge, it's not just a part of the business, it is the business. First of all, it's often great if the vision that you have comes from God, which we believe it does. And that's also what gives you the motivation and sometimes the discipline to keep going. Faith allows you to make the right decisions in line with values that are driven by Christian principles. In the industry that we're in, it can be quite easy to be sidetracked by very superficial things. But I think my faith acts as a guiding anchor with like an integrity hook that even when you want to go for something that looks lucrative and looks shiny, you're drawn back because you've got that center anchor. So I would say faith is everything. Praying a lot, giving tithe, absolutely. Paying first fruits is a must.
All right.
Contributing or not.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Anyway, Laurie, give us a parting word. What would be your last words to anyone listening? What would be your? I know you've given us a lot so far, but just give us one more, Laurie. Then I think we can bring this show to a close for today.
My parting words would be how you do anything is how you do everything. They aren't my words. They don't originate from me, but they are absolutely a guiding principle, whether it's how you interact with the people that are there in the early days to support the business, how you interact with your suppliers who supply products to be able for you to sell your business, your service. How you do anything is how you do everything. So being faithful in the small things, the actions, the things that people aren't looking at, the things that nobody sees or appreciates you for are the principles that will open up the biggest doors.
Thank you very much, Laurie. I'll always remember show up on time. I have what was show up on time?
Know the script.
Know the script and have a few ideas. Thank you very much, Lori. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time. And thank you for everyone that's been tuning in. And we hope you tune in next week for the next show. Lori, have a good day. God bless.
Thank you.
You've just listened to Roots to Riches, stories of ordinary people doing the extraordinary. If this episode moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their journey can start today. Follow, share, and stay connected, because your story could be the next one we tell. Roots to Riches, where every dream has a beginning.